Imagine a regular day turning into a nightmare in a split second. Just like any other day, the sun rose, casting its warm glow on the bustling Borispil International Airport. The air buzzed with anticipation as travelers sipped their hot coffees, bidding adieus and embracing new adventures. Among them were the passengers of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752, oblivious to the fact that their ordinary day was about to take a horrific turn. Flight 752, a symbol of connection between two nations, was a routine flight from Tehran, Iran to Kyiv, Ukraine. On board were 176 souls, each with a unique story. Students returning after holidays, families reuniting, professionals chasing dreams, and tourists seeking adventures. The plane took off, soaring into the clear sky, symbolizing hope and dreams. Little did anyone know that this symbol of hope would soon turn into a symbol of an unimaginable tragedy. Minutes after takeoff, a catastrophic event unfolded. Flight 752 plummeted from the sky, leaving a trail of smoke and disbelief in its wake. The plane crashed, painting a chilling picture of destruction. The once bustling airport fell into a deafening silence, broken only by the whispers of shock and the echoes of despair. The world watched in horror as the news spread. A regular flight transformed into a heartbreaking tragedy. 176 lives, 176 stories, all silenced in a split second. A plane that once symbolized connection and hope was now a symbol of loss and grief. In this dark hour, the world stood united, mourning the loss of innocent lives. As the sun set, casting long shadows on the crash site, the reality of the tragedy began to sink in. The echoes of the crash reverberated around the world, a chilling reminder of how a regular day turned into a global nightmare. A regular day turned into a global tragedy. The aftermath of the crash was devastating. The world stood still as the news of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752's tragic end reverberated across borders. First responders rushed to the scene, their hearts heavy with the grim task that lay ahead. The crash site, once an ordinary field, was now a haunting testament to the sudden, shocking loss of life. Emergency teams worked tirelessly through the smoke and debris, their faces etched with sorrow and determination. Every piece of wreckage was a chilling reminder of the lives lost. The air was heavy with grief, the silence only broken by the distant wail of sirens and the murmur of the wind. The enormity of the disaster was overwhelming, but the resolve of those working at the site was unwavering. As dawn broke, the grim task of identifying the victims began. Personal belongings scattered across the crash site. A child's toy, a wedding ring, a photograph painted a heartbreaking picture of the lives abruptly ended. Each item a stark reminder of the human cost of this tragedy. Away from the crash site, the world struggled to come to terms with the catastrophe. Families and friends of the passengers were plunged into an abyss of grief. Their homes, once filled with laughter and love, were now shrouded in a deafening silence. The loss was too sudden, too immense to comprehend. In schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods, empty chairs served as poignant reminders of those who were no longer with us. Tears flowed freely as communities came together to remember the victims. Candlelight vigils were held, each flickering flame a tribute to a life lost too soon. The sorrow was palpable, the grief universal. Despite the pain, there was a sense of unity, a shared mourning that transcended borders and brought humanity closer. As the world grappled with the magnitude of the loss, the focus shifted towards understanding what had led to this unthinkable disaster. An investigation was initiated at the crash site, with experts meticulously combing through the wreckage, seeking answers amidst the debris. The world was in shock, mourning the loss of 176 innocent lives. Every tragedy comes with questions that need answers. In the wake of the catastrophic crash of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752, the world held its breath as the investigation began. The debris scattered across the field outside Tehran told a tale of devastation, but it also held the clues to the cause of this tragic incident. The investigation was a painstaking process of piecing together fragments of evidence. Amidst the wreckage, the black boxes, the flight data recorder, and the cockpit voice recorder were found. These devices, silent witnesses to the final moments of the flight, were critical in uncovering the truth behind the crash. As the investigation unfolded, a startling revelation came to light. The plane, it was discovered, was shot down unintentionally due to a human error. An Iranian missile operator had mistaken the passenger jet for a hostile target. A crucial mistake, a fatal misjudgment, and within mere minutes, 176 lives were extinguished in a fiery explosion. The world was stunned by this revelation. A plane full of civilians, many returning to their homes, their lives, brought down by a tragic error. The news sparked a wave of international reactions. There was shock, disbelief, and grief, but there was also anger. Anger at the senseless loss of lives, anger at a mistake that could and should have been avoided. The global community demanded accountability. Governments, human rights organizations, and the families of the victims sought justice for the innocent lives lost. The investigation was not just about finding the cause, it was about acknowledging the error, owning up to the mistake, and ensuring that such a tragedy never happens again. The investigation into the crash of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 was a grim reminder of the devastating consequences of human error. It was a lesson learned in the hardest way possible, a lesson the world would never forget. The tragic error that caused 176 lives brought a wave of international outrage. The world watched, the world reacted. As the news of the tragic incident of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752 spread like wildfire, the world media was quick to respond. Major news outlets across the globe began covering the story extensively. They painted a vivid image of the unfolding events, the horror of the crash, and the agony of those left behind. From the east to the west, there was a unanimous voice echoing through every news bulletin, every article, every broadcast, a voice of shock, of grief, and of condemnation. The incident was not just a headline, it was a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the devastating impact of human error or intentional harm. In the face of this tragedy, the world media did not just report, they demanded accountability. They asked the tough questions that needed to be asked. Who was responsible? How could this have been allowed to occur? What measures were in place to prevent such a catastrophe? The media became the voice of the voiceless, seeking answers on behalf of the victims, their families, and a world left reeling. Amidst the widespread condemnation of the incident, there was also a surge of global solidarity. The world media highlighted the stories of the victims, their dreams, their hopes, their lives cut tragically short. These stories brought home the human cost of the incident, making it a shared sorrow, a collective loss. The media also played a crucial role in channeling the outpouring of global support toward the victims' families. They spotlighted various initiatives and campaigns aimed at providing emotional and financial support to the bereaved families. Through their coverage, they helped mobilize resources and ensured that the victims were remembered and their families were not left to grieve alone. And so, through the lens of the world media, the incident was not just a moment in time, but a call to action. A call for change, for better safety measures, for accountability, and above all, for justice. The world demanded justice for the innocent lives lost. In the face of tragedy, we find our humanity. This is a statement that has been echoed around the world as we remember the victims of Ukraine International Airlines Flight 752. In the aftermath of this heartbreaking incident, we saw a global outpouring of grief and solidarity. Memorials were held in cities across the world, from Toronto to Tehran, each one a testament to the lives that were tragically cut short. People from all walks of life came together to honor the victims. their faces illuminated by the soft glow of candlelight, their hearts heavy with sorrow. The calls for justice have been loud and clear. There is a collective outcry for accountability, for the truth to be brought to light, and for measures to be taken to prevent such a catastrophe from happening again. Governments, aviation authorities, and international organizations are all part of these ongoing efforts. Investigations are underway, and while they may not bring back those we've lost, they hold the promise of bringing about change, of ensuring that the victims did not die in vain. There is a profound sense of loss that accompanies such a tragedy, but there is also hope. Hope that through our collective grief, we can bring about a safer, more just world. Hope that those who have been lost will not be forgotten, but will live on in our memories and in the changes that their loss brings about. The memory of Flight 752 serves as a stark reminder of the preciousness of life. It reminds us that each moment is fleeting, that each life is invaluable. It is a reminder of the collective responsibility we carry towards each other to ensure that every individual can live their life without fear, without the threat of such tragedies hanging over their heads. And so, as we remember the victims of Flight 752, let us not just mourn their loss, but also honor their lives. Let us strive to create a world where such incidents are a thing of the past, a world where every life is valued, where every individual is safe. In remembering the victims of Flight 752, we are reminded of the preciousness of life and the collective responsibility we carry towards each other.